This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the program, the final hour of the program, at least for today. And we're taking your calls at 508-996-0500. Have a couple of people on hold. Good morning. Thanks for calling back.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for taking my call back.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I would have talked more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you were interviewing Shane. Oh, my God. I am so livid about this. Dad, is there any way you can redo a vote? What does Leo Chiquette think about this? Because he's Ward 1. I'm curious about that. And, wow, the Shane Easters. Now I'm going to call him not the Shane Easters. How about the Shane Easters? Like, shame on them. You know what I mean? Like
the Shane Denistas. Well, the Shane Denistas, I call them that because they remind me of the Sandinistas from Nicaragua, the communist movement in Nicaragua, who had no idea what they were doing. They took over and they ruined the economy. That's why I call Shane the Shane Denistas, leader of the Shane Denistas.
I knew you always had. I knew you had something behind that, but I'm really ashamed of this. And I swear, if there's a way to do a re-over, I would. I'm just glad I voted for President Trump because we need somebody strong in that White House right now. As far as Shane, now he wants these encampments.
Yes.
And the thing is when he came on your show, he's a really nice person. Honestly, his personality is nice.
No, he's a nice guy. Very nice guy.
Right, exactly. So, but what I don't like is he says, well, we already have tent cities. No, you didn't. What you have is people living out in the woods in their tents. It's not a city, and it was becoming very obnoxious. Like I told you when I called in once a while back about the murder behind Save-A-Lot's grocery store. That's not there anymore. It's going to be Vincent's, I believe. But, I mean, and down here by the movie cinema, there was, of course, now the train station's there, so nobody's living in the woods unless they're really further out. But, so, I mean, that's just what homeless people do. They find a way and they go live somewhere. So, like, he wants to literally do a controlled type of encampment city. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, geez, I don't want to go to urgent care. So can I come there and get my blood work and be seen by somebody? Because you're going to have a whole dog, the whole thing there. Otherwise, every taxpayer is paying for an ambulance to bring him to urgent care or straight to the hospital. So, I mean, I'm not on board with what he's doing. I say just build a real ground and do the real thing for these people. Keep the sick ones there. And anybody that's not sick, I think they should just go through the system like any other homeless person that goes into the shelters where they can get help. Unfortunately, not Americans, but, you know. But, yeah, so I'm like really... I'm just verklempt. I don't even know if I'm saying enough the right way, Chris, but Leo Chiquette, I want to know what he thinks about him endorsing this man.
We can ask Leo. He's thanks for calling, my friend. So apparently she voted for Mark Sylvia. She wouldn't have voted for him had she known that he was a member of the Shane Denistas, which is a big development. I always knew that Mark was from the left wing of the Democrat Party. And again, I've invited him on. He just has ignored my multiple invitations. I don't know what he's afraid of. But anyway, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Well, obviously he's afraid of you, my friend.
But, I mean, it's not that big of a deal here, is it?
Well, I know, you can be, strong, or you can be, easy like you were on that lady the other day that called in about question 5 there. Yeah. So it depends on what Chris McCarthy he gets, If he gets one that lays back, that's another thing. But anyway, moving on. Over in Fairhaven, yes. Not being a Fairhavenite, living in New Bedford, but since so many people call
quite a bit about over here.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know why.
Yes.
You're a smart man. Yes. You're a man about town. But nonetheless, I think what the Fairhavenites should do is get rid of that town moderator thing and go back to the executive secretary. Even if Jeff Ossuch, I think he's around my age. I think I played a pony league ball against him, and I think Danny Romanowitz too. When I was a kid, I remember them playing on the same team together. They were good hitters, if I remember correctly, if I get the right gentleman. Okay, and I think they were friends. But I think if you could maybe get him out of retirement and have him put in some interim time there to show the town that they don't need to have 3, 5, 10, 100 selectmen to get things done. All you need is the selectmen in the hierarchy in charge, and they give orders and tell the executive secretary what to do and what they want done, and he, carries out their orders. Otherwise, you're going to have a government sort of like New Bedford, where John Mitchell runs everything, and you try to file away and chip away at what he does, and he's the one responsible more for the high taxes than anybody else. Okay, because all the Shane Denistas can do is to try to file and sand and try to take it down a little bit, but he comes up with the budget basically. So, and the other thing I want to talk about is Carlos.
Sure.
Carlos calling in. I wish you'd give him some time, at least once a month, to come in and give his perspective, even sit down with you, because I didn't know there was a House of Hope in New Bedford. I don't even know where it is.
It's over by the airport.
Okay.
It is
near Symposium. Is that what they call it?
It's kind of across the street
from Symposium. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was an old television store or something.
I think you're right. Well, again, you wonder if it would be appropriate whether the ARPA funds go to fix their roof or something. I think it would be kind of useful if
ARPA's all spoken for.
I know it's been taken care of by My Way or the Highway. You know that, and I know that too. But nonetheless, I think I never knew that existed there. I used to go by there and see. I still go by there and see. I don't know what that is. Still going in and out. But nonetheless, he brings up things being on the street, and you've got New Bedford now, and he's got New Bedford at night, or South Coast now. He's got South Coast at night, or New Bedford at night. Right. So he brings up things that normally wouldn't be brought up. And I know too. I mentioned in the past Linda Morad's name, and she's a person who's tried to cut the budget as well. And he cautioned me not to trust her, that she might turn on you, that sort of stuff. But, really, if there's anyone that could oppose the mayor and run for mayor, although Carlos may not like that, is Linda Morad, because when you watch the city council meeting, she knows the budget up and down.
Oh, so she definitely knows the figures.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to have the mayor, higher taxes, me, lower taxes, or like the person tried to do, which is a great idea, the Kelly Ayotte commercial there. Mark Sylvia, higher taxes. Joe Pius, lower taxes. Mm-hmm. I think that's what the voter wants to hear, and you don't have to have a 1,000-page dissertation on why something is done, that sort of stuff.
What about this? If someone who is running for mayor next time around, right? It's a couple of years away, but people have to get their campaigns in order now if they're going to run. Them saying, look, I'm going to run, but I'm going to have Linda Morad on my staff. In other words, they make a big announcement that they have Linda Morad on their staff, maybe as an advisor, whatever, because she brings a lot to the table.
Oh, yeah, well, she's been around a long time, too, and I can see where she's made enemies because of her length being around there and everything.
Sure.
And I can see where Carlos would advise me to be cautious about praising her, and I like that. I like Carlos, weighing in. Again, you'd have to weigh that as to how much, I would try to emphasize the fact that she was going to help me with the budget, But I don't know if she could do that and still be in the city council at the same time. I don't think she'd want to leave the city council. I really think she'd have to run herself and say, Mitchell, higher taxes, Morad, lower taxes. Simple.
She's certainly got the money for it. She's got the bank, she's got plenty of campaign money, and she's a good fundraiser.
Yes,
and she has a good following. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, she's a smart person. The problem is that these disagreements become personal, and they carry on. The other thing I thought that was interesting in the phone call this morning, too, there was a gentleman that called up and said he worked for a long time with the people that were homeless. He mentioned something about having 3 places in the city, like we got a string bean city, where people could go for help. Do you think that's a decent idea or not?
I would say that
I know the mayor wouldn't want it, I'm sure.
Right.
But again, this guy seems to be a sincere guy out there doing the job and having a place somewhere in the north end, maybe on Acushnet Avenue, okay?
Yep.
There, maybe in the south end near, I would say maybe Rivet Street, I'm just guessing here now. And maybe downtown, you already got downtown, I would assume. where these that way too, where they did be spread out and they wouldn't all be coagulating downtown, which I think the mayor would like.
My question is, how much of a burden does New Bedford have to take on for the region?
Well, it's a gateway city, and you know what the governor thinks. This isn't the problems in Boston isn't a Boston problem; it's a regional problem.
Right.
So does Mayor Wu. So when you see the train come in, you might see how much you have to take on. You might take on a lot of that mass cast coming in here. That's going to be more mass cast down here. We'll give you a free ticket to get down there, and no way to get back. Have a nice day.
Let me tell you something. When I used to take the train to work, and it was an odd thing. I would take the train up to Brockton and then go over to a company near Brockton. Anyway, so the Brockton train station, you would meet probably twice a month. Some guy would come up to you, panhandling, asking for directions.
Yeah.
Because he'd just shown up in Brockton and he was now being sent to the Pine Street Inn.
Oh yeah.
And so they do move them around using that train line, big time.
Well, and you got to be careful, Chris, because as you know, as go New Bedford, so go the towns around there.
Yes.
And it might be to your advantage to have New Bedford have this, so that way you don't have to put up the bridge and stop somebody from getting over the street.
Thank you, my friend.
I thought you did that to Shane. I thought you made a phone call. Hey,
no. I know. I like Shane. I like Shane in here. He makes news on my program. Today he came in to endorse Mark Sylvia for state representative. Leader of the Shane Denistas has endorsed Mark Sylvia. He's part of the Shane Denistas. Stick around. We'll be right back. Arthi, and we're taking your audience, taking your calls at 508-996-0500. If it's on your mind, I bet I'll find it interesting. Good morning. Thanks for holding. Good morning. Thanks for holding. I know that call keeps dropping off. That actually could be on our end. 508-996-0500 so I can get on the air. The rally that Donald Trump held, did it help him or hurt him? I got to be honest with you. They should have screened those comedians who told those stupid jokes. The last thing the president needs is legitimate complaints of racism, right? Legitimate complaints of racism. That was stupid. It wasn't the president that said it. It wasn't even someone he's going to have in his administration. But whoever booked those comedians and let them just say whatever they wanted. Just ridiculous. I mean, I as a Trump supporter, found it to be really stupid. Really stupid. And I would understand. I don't use the word hurtful because it's not really my mentality to have hurt feelings. But, I recognize that people do have that sort of sensibility. And it would not be illegitimate to say that you got hurt feelings by what those guys said. Right? I mean, you could say anything you really want about me. I'll get angry, but I wouldn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying? I just think it was stupid. And again, Donald Trump doesn't plan the details of his events. Somebody else does that. And it wasn't him that said it. And obviously, I thought the Democrats were ridiculous, claiming it was going to be like the 1938 Nazi rally. It just shows how ignorant they are, really. Or how little they respect your intelligence level, actually, to think you're going to believe that. But anyway, I did think it was stupid, right? Did the rally help him or hurt him? I thought it would help him. It was a big deal to have a Madison Square Garden rally, and I think it had some really positive sides to it. But creating, like Nixon said, I gave them the sword that they drove through me, right? Anyway, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Scott Pemberton here.
Hey, Scott. How are you?
Good. If I may make one announcement, I just want to just let everyone know that tonight we are having a trunk or treat at Brooklawn Park. It's sponsored by the Parks and Recreation plus the Friends of Brooklawn and the Wards 1 and 2 Neighborhood Association. And the start time's at 5:30 to 7 o'clock. Again, that's Brooklyn Park. It's going to be the trunk and treat.
So people bring their kids and they pick up candy.
That's correct.
Scott Pemberton, you're doing great things for the North End of New Bedford. And that's put together by who? You and who else?
That's put together by me with the Wards 1 and 2 Neighborhood Association, Friends of Brooklyn Park, which I coordinate those three, and the Parks, Recreation, and Beaches.
Hey, that is great stuff. Do you need volunteers, or what do people do?
Well, if anybody wants to come down and decorate their car, I'll be there around 4 o'clock, 4:30. They can decorate their cars, and the event will start off at 5:30. Hopefully we'll be joined by the police department, fire department, emergency management, and I know we got a couple of outreach programs going to be there as well, passing out candy. So
kids walk around from car to car and get candy. Is that how it works?
That's how it works, yes,
okay.
sir.
I grew up in Freetown. We didn't have that. We had kids throwing eggs at us.
That was better. My earlier days, right?
Yeah, it was better then.
Yeah. Well, we're also going to have some hot chocolate, too, provided by Friendly Donuts as well. So.
Great. And so what time today to be where?
So it start time's at 5:30, and then we'll go until 7 o'clock.
At Brooklyn Park?
At Brooklyn Park, yep, right in the parking lot by the Senior Center.
Boy, Scott Pemberton, you do great things. That's great leadership. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
All right, thanks. That's Scott Pemberton, everybody, folks. A trunk or treat out there at Brooklyn Park. So I guess that's people bring in their cars, and then the little kids go around in their costumes, and they get candy. We didn't do that in Freetown. We didn't, for a variety of reasons. 508-996-05. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
Last night on Fox News, they reported that the comedian had submitted his entire monologue to the Trump campaign to download it into the teleprompter, and that comment he made about Puerto Rico was off script. It was something that he said at that moment. It was not part of his presentation to the Trump campaign. So he went off script.
He probably got a bribe from the Democrats. They probably, think about that. That'd be amazing. Here's 20 grand, say something racist.
Yeah, it would be. And also just a little history lesson for everybody real quick. Mm-hmm. Madison Square Garden has moved 3 times since it was that 33 or that 36 rally, the 38 rally that took place. So they're not in the same place anymore. It's just the name of the place. And FDR has held rallies there, and all kinds of politicians of both parties have held rallies there. So all this crap that they're talking about is foolishness. And another little point of history: Hitler's generals weren't that loyal to him.
I agree with you. They tried to murder him.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's ever seen the movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise knows that's a true story. I mean, the Wehrmacht, which is the German army, they weren't towards 1944. They weren't very hot on Hitler, and they tried to whack him off. It was the SS that was really Hitler's people, and so there's a lot of lack of knowledge of history, and. So I just thought I'd want to clear that up.
No, I appreciate that. I always wonder who are these Democrats learning their Third Reich history from, right? Not Shire, not William Shire, not John Toland, not Ian Kershaw. No, these people aren't reading books on the Third Reich and the government of Adolf Hitler. There's no comparison. And by the way, all they're doing is making America look weak, right? For years, the Soviets, the Russians, the communists called the American government the Third Reich, right? They made comparisons between Hitler's government and the American government. Why? To advance communist propaganda. So the fact that one of the major political parties is now echoing that communist line of propaganda, it really is disgusting, to tell you the truth. And the fact that some of their sycophants, who are not quite that bright, are repeating it is really, really amazing. But anyway, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
Good. I just want to get back to what you were talking about prior, about the gentleman at the rally saying what he said about Puerto Rico and some other thing. And you was absolutely right. and I don't blame Donald Trump for what he said, but you know and I know that if you have a rally like that and people, get up and speak, and, if they say condescending things or racial things or, it's just not right. It's not good.
Oh, and you're going to get blamed for it.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Phil got up there, and I like Dr. Phil. I watch him all the time, and he had a lot to say, but he was right on target. Hey, I'm not a politician. This is who I'm supporting, and he gave us a few reasons and all that. And it was nice to hear from him. But when you get guys that get up there and say stuff like that, it makes Donald Trump look bad, even though he's not the one that's responsible. And I wouldn't blame him for that. But a lot of people would say, hey, it's his guys and they're doing what they're doing up there. But if Michelle Obama was at the DNC and she said a whole bunch of stupid things about Republicans or Donald Trump, it would be talked about the next day, right?
Oh, sure. Certainly. Thanks for the call, my friend. The difference is that Michelle Obama, of course, is a major international figure, sophisticated woman who was first lady, been a lawyer and all that stuff. Apparently, this guy was just a comedian who actually went off script. But again, it reflects poorly, fairly or unfairly, on President Trump. And I think it's outrageous. And I think probably at the bottom of it, you'll find there's some skullduggery there. If you're on hold, stay there, but we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. 089960500. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, Mr. Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
This is Dayton calling. I haven't talked to you in a while.
No, it has been a while. How you been?
I took a vacation last week.
Where'd you
anyway,
go?
what I want to tell you, how come these Democrats, gee whiz, for a Nazi rally, they had a lot of Jewish people and African Americans at that rally. You notice that?
Oh, I know. It's so ridiculous.
Right. And Hitler was the one that wanted to take all the guns away, not Trump.
Right.
Cheapest crow. How can Trump be a Nazi? He likes the Second Amendment.
No, I totally agree with you. It was just a look. And thanks for the call, Dayton. And glad you're back. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. The Democrats have been calling every Republican presidential nominee a Nazi since Barry Goldwater. Folks, that's 1964. They called Ronald Reagan a Nazi, George Bush, George W. Bush. So it's no surprise. The sad thing is it diminishes the cruelty and the reality of the actual Nazi regime, right? It really diminishes the impact when children hear about Nazis. They just think it's somebody who wants restrictive zoning and sound tax policy when it obviously is not. They were maniacs that advocated things like abortion and racial categories that gave someone benefits because of their racial composition of their blood, right, over somebody else. They wanted things like abortion, and the Nazis, and they wanted things like racial categories where a certain blood type or a race line got more benefits over another one because of that, right? So think about that for a second. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I find it highly ironic. I waited until Kamala Harris actually said it herself, where she said that Trump was a fascist and a Nazi. And then I thought, that is the most ironic thing, because your vice presidential candidate, Josh Shapiro, you denied him because of him being a Jew,
yes,
because you were concerned about how your far-left protesters that were at Columbia were going to feel about it. So, you can't, say, oh, this is a fascist and a Nazi when you act just like one.
Right.
It was her decision, and Shapiro is a far better candidate. I would have took Shapiro over Waltz any day.
Absolutely.
But, unbelievable. I guess we made it through the weekend without any Nazi parties. So anyway,
thanks for the call, my friend. Again, the reason that Josh Shapiro is not the vice presidential nominee of the Democrat Party is because he's Jewish. Everybody knows that. It is openly discussed because Josh Shapiro runs a pretty good state down there in Pennsylvania. But because there are so many Arabists in the Democrat Party now who don't like Jews, he can't be on the ticket. They were afraid of the backlash. Kamala Harris was. So she didn't select the best candidate because of his religion and his ethnicity, being Jewish. It's really pretty sad, actually. It's not even something I really like to talk about because it brings shame, it ought to anyway, to the Democrat Party. And a lot of my friends are members of the Democrat Party, and they don't share that belief, but they do have to tolerate it to make their majority, which is unfortunate. Really is unfortunate. But anyway, folks, if you haven't heard the news, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, they held a march down Union Street right after the October 7th pogrom, right? The attack on Israel back in October, a year ago. There was a rally by the Party for Socialism and Liberation to end military aid to Israel, right down Union Street in New Bedford. Why did they select that part? Well, because at the bottom of Union Street, the DeMello International Center, is where Congressman Keating has his office, okay? And he's on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he's on Armed Services. Sadly, among the demonstrators were a lot of Democrats. There is a video of this, to include Lisa Lemieux, who's on the Democrat State Committee and a member of a number of unions, including SEIU. She was right there. There's a video of her rallying with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They're the ones you see all the signs on the college campuses when they have the pro-Hamas demonstrations. Really was a sad day for New Bedford. But I will tell you this, that the Party for Socialism and Liberation has a newspaper. It's called Liberation News. They are running an article right now on the defeat of the Business Improvement District by the New Bedford City Council. And they are claiming a credit for it. The Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is running a presidential candidate this year, right? There's 2 women on the ticket for president. They are running a article in their party newspaper, the September edition. You can find it online, Liberation News, celebrating the defeat of the Business Improvement District in the city council by a group of city councilors that apparently were working in conjunction with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Shane Burgo was one of the leaders to defeat the Business Improvement District, which was an attempt to improve the business climate in a couple of neighborhoods in downtown New Bedford. He was doing it in conjunction with Jay Lanigan and Jimmy DeMello and Steve Borgard and Kevin Carter, a number of really responsible property owners and businessmen in the city of New Bedford. Shane Burgo defeated that in conjunction with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Today, Shane Burgo endorsed Mark Sylvia for state representative. leader of the Shandonistas, has put his arms around Mark Sylvia, a candidate he says he's been with from the beginning. So if you're voting in the Fairhaven election for state representative, Mattapoisett election, Rochester, Marion, you folks in Acushnet, listen up. And in Ward 1, the Shandonistas have endorsed Mark Sylvia for state representative. So if you remember, the Shandonistas were also in favor of increasing the auto excise tax in violation of Proposition 2.5, a movement that was shot down by Senator Mark Montigny, a loyal Democrat, right? Chris Markey, a loyal Democrat. Chris Hendricks, a loyal Democrat. Those guys stood up against Shane Burgo and the Shandonistas and did not allow for an increase in the auto excise tax. And now those people have endorsed Mark Sylvia for state representative. Elections have consequences. Big league, right?